Hey guys, welcome back to another It's Just Ray with me, Raylene Challoner. I'm back in the car again. Anyway, I wanted to share a story with you. Andy and I moved down into Milwaukee in the month of April, and by Memorial Weekend it was warm enough to sit outside, which clearly it's not today. So we're sitting out on our porch about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, chit-chatting, when all of a sudden we hear this crash. I mean, loud. We're like, what the dickens was that? A few seconds later, we see this beautiful black Jaguar drive slowly down the road and stop right in front of our house. Well, of course, I'm super excited as I'm thinking, somebody needs our help. Yay, that's why we're here. So I jump off the porch down the steps to see what we can do. And I see this young man gets out of the car, and he's obviously distressed, and with good reason, because his car is messed up. It's going nowhere. Whatever he hit really hard. And so I start, oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. That's really bad. And, blah, blah, blah. I'm Raylene. This is Andy. Would you like something to drink? Can we do something for you? We live right here. Do you need to use our phone? Do you have insurance? Can you call a tow truck? Can we take you somewhere? Off I go. Well, I find out his name is Demetrius, and we have this little conversation. And in the midst of this conversation, I also find out that Demetrius is definitely on something. And now my heart's really going out to him because I can see how young he is. And I'm thinking, oh, he's already abusing some substance and he's so young. What has his life been like? So in the process of this conversation, unbeknownst to us, the neighbors across the street are sitting up on their balcony and they saw the whole thing. And what they saw Demetrius take the corner way too wide and way too fast and run into one of the neighbors' cars that was parked a couple of doors down. What Demetrius didn't know was the car that he hit was the girlfriend's car of our neighbor, Officer Jeff, from the Milwaukee Police Department. So that wasn't good. So as we're having this conversation, a few minutes later, Officer Jeff is on the scene, as they say. Politely asks us to move aside and begins a conversation with Demetrius. And the next thing I know, Demetrius is in handcuffs sitting on the curb outside of our house. Well, for those of you who know me really well, you know that I have known this young man a whole 15 minutes, and now I'm emotionally invested. So, also, I've never seen anybody be arrested in front of my eyes before, and I just start bawling. So Officer Jeff sees this, and must have had some compassion, I guess, and decides he's going to come over and give us what we can only say was a little friendly, neighborly officer advice. He says, guys, I know why you're down here. I can see that you're upset. I know you want to help. And he says, so I got to say, though, you didn't think to yourselves, what's a kid like this driving a car like that? And we were kind of like, no, all we saw was a kid that needed help. And where are we going with this? We're thinking to ourselves. And he says, and you didn't see the gang tattoos all over his face and his neck? And we're like, well, we saw the tattoos, kind of hard not to, but we didn't know they were gang tattoos. And again, where are we going with this? He says, you didn't notice he was, on something? I thought, well, yeah, but so is like 3/4 of this city. And your point is, and he's underage. He says, guys, he's underage. He doesn't have a license. He shouldn't be driving. Those gang tattoos, he's part of a prominent gang here in Milwaukee. There's a warrant out for his arrest. He's clearly on something. And this is a stolen vehicle. I said, he said this is his aunt's car. And Officer Jeff kind of chuckles. Well, it's somebody's aunt's car, but not his aunt. Right. Okay. And he says, and if you had helped him in any way, taken him anywhere, you could have been implicated in this crime. Oh, right. Roger that. Okay. Anyway, so off Demetrius went, and I still pray for him to this day and tried to follow up, but the trail went cold. So this story came back to remembrance because I was listening to another woman teach on the story of the Samaritan woman. And the whole theme of this mission conference I was at was on racial reconciliation. And she was using this story to say Jesus was of a race that should not have been talking to, looked at, breathed on, shared the same air as this woman from the race she was from, the Samaritans. And Jesus, in his Jesus way, just kind of says, I'm going to go. I'm going to show her the hope that I am. And she tries to deflect the conversation, and he just brings it right back to who he is and what he can do for her. And then it made me think about, after hearing that story, I thought about Mary Magdalene and how Jesus kind of worked his Jesus way on Mary Magdalene. The religious leaders throw her at his feet as if to say, what are you going to do with this one? And he kind of just does his Jesus thing and forgives her. And even though she's caught right in the act of sinning, he forgives her sin and shows her the hope that he is. And then from that story, it made me start thinking about Matthew, of all people. Because I was reading in Mark 2, around about verse 15, when the religious leaders, again, they come in and they say to the disciples, kind of try and pick on them, hey, your leader, your rabbi, your teacher guy, he eats with sinners and tax collectors. Not just sinners, but tax collectors too. And the disciples are kind of humana, like they do. And Jesus, being Jesus, knows what's going on. And he says, yeah, guys, you're right. Paraphrasing. I didn't come for the healthy. I came for the sick. That's who need a doctor, the sick. And so in this holiday season, I just started thinking about the people that need hope. The Demetriuses, the Samaritans, the Mary Magdalenes, the Matthews, the Raylenes, the people that need to see hope. I was listening to the Christian radio station the other day, and it was meant, all in fun, but one of the DJs said, I did all my Christmas shopping online. I was so glad to be able to just sit in my PJs and not have to go out amongst the people. And I quote. And a little piece of my heart actually broke, I think, because I thought, man, guys, I know what you're saying. It's convenient. But this is the time of year that we need to be out with the people. Those of us who are Jesus followers do not need to rush in and out of these stores. We need to go in and we need to let people see that we know the hope. We know who the hope is. And if they need to know the hope, that we can show them who Jesus is. And we need to not be afraid to do that. Because the Demetriuses with the gang tattoos clearly just want to belong. He just wanted a family, a sense of community. He had it written all over him. And the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, the woman from the ghetto, from the hood, from the wrong side of town, she was actually quite popular in her neighborhood, but was clearly had something missing. And Jesus knew that and showed her who he was. And Mary Magdalene, prostituting, just trying to fill that void any way she could, she needed the hope. She needed Jesus. And Matthew, clearly choosing the path of being a tax collector as a career, the lust of money, greed, whatever that was, he was trying to fill that hole in himself and needed Jesus. And who of us don't fit in one of those categories? We're all trying to fill that hole. And there's people out amongst us that need to know that that hole, that gap can be filled, but only by Jesus, the hope, the reason for the season. So I know some of you want to hide away this season in all the bustle. And I'm not saying you got to go to the mall, but I'm saying reach out in your community to that teacher, to that student, to the bus driver, to the person at the grocery store, to your neighbor. Don't shy away, because they need to see the hope that Jesus is. Okay, it's bye for now. Talk to you soon.